Well, good morning, my friends. MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa here with the MLive Morning Weather Update. So very glad to be with you this morning. There is quite a bit in weather. It always seems like there's quite a bit in weather, especially at this time of the year. None of it is really too crazy. We're heading toward the freezing mark, and that might sound a little crazy for the weather that we've just been through the last several weeks. Then we do have a mini cold shot. I'm going to say it's not quite as cold as last weekend. And then we have what I'm calling, and we're going to call in the next couple of days as I write about it, we have a wonky weather pattern. And I'll show you what I mean. So thanks for joining me live. I do have my phone up. Sounds like my desk is going to collapse. Good morning. So I do have my phone up and can take some questions or comments. Lloyd Irvin, good morning. Deb Block, good morning. Connie Steiner, good morning. Share, if you could. This would be the thing. Figure out how to share this for me. Michael Predmore, good morning. John Kleinsmith from Waterford, good morning. And Christy Galloway from Napoleon. Good morning. Bruce in East Jordan also. All right, so nothing too crazy in weather today. I did the trip around the weather cameras around our great state, and it looks like roads are in fairly good condition for this time of the year. So I just see, really just light snow for today. Here is a look at the radar forecast. And our next weather maker, let me see here. Our next weather maker is going to come in on Thursday into Friday, tomorrow into Friday. And it's a pretty light one. It's a 1, 2, 3 inch type snow. So here's the radar forecast for today. All through the day looks dry, other than a very quick flurry somewhere. And tonight looks dry. This is 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Maybe by morning, light snow showing up in Charlevoix. I remember when I first came to Michigan, I would say Charlevoix on television just for fun. Of course I knew it was Charlevoix. Oh, people did not have a sense of humor on that. So I learned not to do that. By the way, I also did that when I was stationed in Cedar Rapids. One time I said Des Moines instead of Des Moines. Yeah, I knew it was Des Moines since I was in the 3rd grade, but people did not have a sense of humor on that either. So this is tomorrow morning, light snow developing. And by afternoon, a little more than flurries coming into the southeast part of the state. The true part of the Alberta Clipper or Arctic front comes in Thursday night. Moisture starved, but not too weak. This is 4 o'clock Friday morning. So Friday we'll have some slick roads. Okay, Gary Clark, I was wondering about that. Grand Traverse Bay officially frozen over. I was always told that they consider it officially frozen over when the ice gets out to what's called Power Island, which is about like halfway out into Grand Traverse Bay. It's about at the end of Old Mission Peninsula if you look straight to the west. This is Friday morning. So, yeah, some widespread snow, generally what I would call light snow. Now, let's take a look at that same model in this time period for its total snowfall. And again, today, nothing. This is through this evening. And tomorrow morning, just starting to get 1 inch or so in the northwest. And then as we go to Friday morning, this is 7 a.m. Friday morning, and we're looking at the snow starting to accumulate, 1, 2 inches. So Friday morning is going to be probably a slow go. Now, let's jump to the European model, which, remember, that's a good model for the medium term, 3 days out to 6, 7 days out on details. And so here we go and see what it does with this next Arctic front, Alberta Clippers. So this is Thursday, and the light snow, really no accumulation. And then this is Friday. This is Friday morning, 7, 8, 9. So in Ann Arbor, Lansing, Jackson, Detroit, we will see the snow increase during the morning hours, right around rush hour. So you're going to need some extra time. You know, if it takes you half hour to get to where you're going, you might want to make it 45, something like that. Also, notice that as we get to midday, I thought the Arctic air would be coming in, but it's going to lag. So the most important thing on this map, that little red squiggly line. And that's the freezing line, 32 degrees. So actually, after the front, we could pop up to 32, 33, 34. Not strong melting because everything is so cold. It takes a couple of days to build momentum in the temperature on the surface, even on the snow. A lot of folks think that snow is 32 degrees. That's not true. If it's 20 below, the snow surface can go down to 20 below. So snow can be a lot colder than just 32 degrees, and it takes a little while. But regardless, the Arctic front blows through, and it's so cold with no curvature around a storm system that any lake effect will be almost none on Saturday, and the high pressure builds in overhead for Saturday night, Sunday. That brings us to light winds and very cold temperatures. So what does the European do on snowfall? So here's Thursday, and it goes with 1 or 2 inches northwest lower, less than an inch elsewhere, and then it brings that Arctic front through on Friday, and we'll call it, I think it's best to call it 1 to 3 inches based on what it looks like. Let's see, we got a few questions here. Good morning, Ogden Center. And let's see. Mike Predmore, wondering when the ground frost lets up. That's going to be a while. You have to have, you have to have a lot of days in the 50s. You got to have a week or two. So that's going to be quite a while, Mike Predmore. How's it looking for Glenview next week? Looks mild, 30s, 40s. Adam Hunt, good morning. Still waiting on a good snow, I know it, and I've told you this before, folks. Thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. It's not really a secret. You don't need a meteorology degree for this, but we probably have not seen our biggest snowstorm yet over lower Michigan. February and March. March is classic for bigger snowstorms because there's more moisture in that. No sign of it just yet, but I'm going to show you the wonky pattern in a bit, and that can bring it. So we're going to call Friday a 1 to 3 inch snow over lower Michigan, least in the Thumb, most in the Traverse City area to Manistee, Ludington, Charlevoix, and Petoskey. All right, out into the future then. On the same model, the European model. And by the way, I'm a meteorologist of 36 years, and I try to keep up on everything. Meteorology technology has always changed pretty steady pace. We are getting flooded with brand new models now. Google has a weather model with AI. The European model has an AI. The US model has an AI extension. So I just started studying up on these last week, and what it comes down to is the accuracy is going to continue to increase. We feel like in the short term, we're at the point where the accuracy is so good that you probably wouldn't save many more lives with more accuracy. Don't get me wrong, we want accuracy, and economically, we probably cover the steps you need to take to avoid any damage if you can. But the long term, that can certainly always get better. Things like major snowstorms up here, ice storms, forecast, 7-10 days out. If you could forecast a large ice storm 10 days out, people might actually go out and get a generator and protect themselves. Deblock, no, it's not really a rant, I don't think. Hey, Duke of Texas, truck driver. My dad was a truck driver after he managed the busiest fast food restaurant in the world in the 70s, is what he told me. By the way, my dad won an award for the cleanest fast food restaurant in the country when I was a kid. Burger King in North Chicago, Illinois, just south of Waukegan, and is right on the Great Lakes Naval Training Center base, Great Lakes Naval Base. So all the sailors came out of the base and to the Burger King. Anybody ever been there? The Burger King in North Chicago, just south of Waukegan. It's gone now. The whole strip went to, you know what, and has been leveled for several decades. All right, so we go into next week, fairly quiet early. The pattern getting wonky. And when is our next true weather system? Everything's pointing to somewhere around the 13th, 14th, 15th of February as we get into the southwesterly flow, more moisture. So we'll watch for that one, and that's going to kind of be the trend. Okay, so this is the European. This is a European model in the ensemble mode. Remember, this is 51 tweaks of the European. So what does it show? It shows us the polar blast this weekend is a glancing blow Saturday and already moving off Sunday. Look at the upper air flow. Look at where our flow, this is basically at 15,000 feet up, this would basically be the wind flow. So what you can do out of this is you can take any one of the black lines by your area of Michigan, trace it back to the west, it goes back through South Dakota, and then it goes back down to Southern California. That's where our air will be originating from versus coming straight out of the polar region as it has been over the last several weeks. Lloyd Irvin, when can I golf again? Well, you can golf today if you want, but you got to leave Michigan and you got to go way south. I saw something, and I haven't verified it, but the people that have been posting it, I think, are pretty legit. Cuba dropped to 32 degrees at one spot yesterday morning, and that is the first time that Cuba has ever recorded a freezing temperature. So yeah, we're not alone. Okay, so here we go. We go into next week, and you won't really see the wonkiness that I'm talking about in this type of forecast, but you will in just a moment here. We're out to February 12th, 13th, 14th. Storm systems coming in from the west. So more of a west-southwest flow with kinks in the jet stream. And I always key on those for you because those are the storm systems. All right, now, watch what I'm going to call a wonky flow. Okay? And what do we know? I'm going to write about this, but you get the inside scoop here now. So what do we know about the wonky flow that's going to develop? We know that the polar vortex, the lobe of it that has been centered over about Hudson Bay and has drifted as far south as being centered over northern Lake Superior in the last week or two, we know that that lobe is ready to suck up back toward the polar region, and so we take away the Arctic air. We do know that. Then the flow bends to the west-southwest, storm systems come in, and no different than what we've had in the last month or so, but they come from a different direction with a little more moisture. We know that. Right now, it does not appear as though any of those are blockbuster storms. They could have, with the moisture, they could have a 6-inch plus swath of heavy snow with them. We'll watch that for February 13th, 14th or so. But they have to pretty much have a block to the east of them so that they stop over the Great Lakes before they get really heavy. So what is expected to happen is this lobe of the polar vortex is going to suck up. The polar vortex is going to kind of consolidate into one, and it looks like the meat of it is going to go over to the other side of the globe. It's what Judah Cohn is calling another polar vortex disruption. And typically what happens is it goes over to the other side of the globe for a week or two and then swings back over the globe toward us. That would put the next cold spell very late February, first couple of weeks of March. Very typical. It's hard to be Arctic at that time because we are going to be gaining power. That's also another thing that I'm going to be writing about today is that, and you get off the hook on reading the articles now, the average high temperature in a lot of places starts going up today or tomorrow. So it ticks from 29 to 30 or 30 to 31. And it just doesn't do much for about the next week or so. And then it takes off. Mid-February, the average high temperature starts going up about a degree every 3 days. By the end of February, southern half of Michigan has average highs of 35. So my point being is if we get that polar vortex to slide back over to this side of the globe, it probably won't come as far south. It probably won't come down to Lake Superior again. It might come down into Hudson Bay, and it won't have the oomph, so to speak, that it does now. Got a lot of nice folks here. Hit the share button. Let's see, what do we got here? Extremely informative day. Okay, thank you, Mike Predmore. So here's the wonkiness. Watch this. So there's your lobe of the polar vortex for the weekend. Weaker than it has been, farther to the east, dissipates quickly, shifts off, and then you see, as we get into next week, a whole different look. Let me just jump back to, like, say, the weekend, okay, right there. And imagine that. Trough in the east, ridge in the west, we're in the cold. Then we go to next week. You can see why we would warm up. But remember, I always key in on these bends in the jet stream, these U-shaped bends. Look at something like that. That's 13th, 14th. And then we go to the 17th. And 18th and 19th. And this model can be off, but the point is it wants to lift that polar vortex north, bring storm systems out of the west. It wants to build a hot ridge coming into Texas. You know, that would be 80s and maybe starting to touch Florida too. So it's going to be interesting. Now, here are the details. Today we're still cold, not what we have been. Tomorrow you might touch 31 at Muskegon, at Holland, at Ludington, otherwise in the 20s. Now here's Friday. Still has continued to look like temperatures of 32 to 34. And would it be all right? Would it be all right if I toot my own horn? You got to sometimes. I try to not be, I don't know if this is a good word. I try to not be cocky, okay? I think I've got the weather figured out. I'm not always right, but I do want to tell you that for 7 days now, I've been targeting February 5th to 7th for our first above freezing day. And that's how meteorology has come, and us meteorologists and our forecasting. No, we're not perfect. Once in a while, this might be a rant. This might be a rant coming up here. Once in a while, we get a little strip that the snow goes berserk, and instead of 1 inch, it's 4 inches. We had that in Oakland County a couple of weeks ago. People were like, what is this? You're always wrong. The forecasts were better in the 70s. The forecasts were not better in the 70s. I started in 85, and the models were not better. Our forecasts were not better. You still get a little fluke here and there. It's very small, and it happens, you know, maybe once every couple of years. All right, shut up now. So, near freezing, above freezing by a couple of degrees Friday. Not a strong warming, though. Not a strong warming at all. Hey, really, guy 3331. Always appreciate it. I hope Bagel is doing well. Hope to see you walking him and Frankenmuth. Yup, he's walking is in quotes now with him, because I think I actually obtain more calories than burn them while I'm walking him now, because he is slow, but he's doing well. He's actually just in the other room sleeping like he always does. All right, now Saturday's cold. Sunday is cold but rebounds. So I'm going to compare this weekend to last weekend, plus, let's say, 5 degrees. And I'll give you the low temperatures here shortly. Now, this is Monday. We start to head above freezing. This is Tuesday into the 30s. And then, now remember, I do want you to remember that when I show you the temperature forecast, because it's an easy display, I tend to go back to the European model in its operational mode. That's one mode. It likes to be cold at the end. We like the upper airflow ensemble better as a big picture. So I showed you yesterday several days of the 40s. Now it's dropped back to the 30s. I also warned you yesterday that the Great Lakes are a tremendous cold source at this time of the year, and the models really do not know how to quantify that effect accurately. So we usually get ripped off a little bit. I don't think we'll get ripped off, but I've always been emphasizing for the last week or so, we are going to warm up, but I don't know that I would call it warm. Hey, thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. This is MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. It looks like we got a lot of people online with us. Maybe you're watching us for the first time. I tend to do this about 9:15 to 9:30 every morning. Today, I was late. I was having a little bit of an issue, running slow. And then I will be honest, my wife dropped a mushroom and cheese omelet in front. Sorry. I knew there wasn't any life-threatening weather. So thanks for joining me. Bookmark it and join us. You can ask questions. So next week, we see a lot of 30s and, some 20s for highs. Certainly reasonable, but I think we will have some 40s as well. Now, here are the low temperatures. So Saturday is the key here. Bowtie 1219 says, every winter I seem to get more impatient for spring. Yes, I hear you there. I always tell people, you know what that's called? That's called getting older. Sorry. What's that bright thing in the sky? It's a UFO, unidentified sunny object. So Saturday morning, probably, -0 to -10 maybe, a lot of -2, -3s. Sunday morning could be the coldest of the weekend because of the clear skies, the light winds, no lake effect warming. So you look for 5 to 10 below in a lot of places, maybe not the southwest corner. Then Monday we start to warm up and the low temperatures come up into the 20s, it looks like, next week. So we definitely have a lot going on in weather. Again, nothing that is really big as far as a storm system, but watch Friday morning. Friday morning looks tricky. The snow starts in the morning. It's light to moderate. It's 1 or 2 inches. The roads will still be cold. So I've heard the word greasy used for roads. That's probably a good term for Friday. Thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. Have yourselves a great day. Bookmark mlive.com/weather, and you'll see everything that information we're putting out on the weather at MLive. Take care.